Karen.
Hello. How are you?
Oh,
Hello, hello.
mm, um, um,
We have some sign language interpreters here for VRS, so we can join the meeting with you, Karen. So that's what will work for good communication. Welcome to the meeting with me and Michelle Gallagher. Now we're new presidents with World Deaf Association, Board of Directors. It's been about 3 weeks with this interview. Want to know more about yourself and your background, experiences as it relates to entry-level accessibility, accessibility as a specialist, any special interests that you might have. Maybe any volunteer for any the position for a number at large, board of directors. Is that right? Right place? Is that the position you applied for?
Yes, that's correct. I would be interested to apply for that position.
Awesome. Okay, so we have your resume. We want to know about your background as such. Interested to discuss all about our board of the current board that we have. Its board members are 6 of us. Team with other 3 of our board. Our other team, 3 of us left. Now we have an open position for you and others who apply to go ahead and participate. Work on new background. We're not going to completely modify it. New one. Oh, give me just a moment. This is the interpreter speaking. I'm going to go ahead and switch, okay? You'll hear another voice.
All right.
The other interpreter now I'm taking. So yeah, before we get started, get into the actual background, agreement about, I want to check with you about your current work. You're currently employed, correct?
That's correct. I am currently employed as accessibility planner at the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance. And the acronym for that is DCAM.
Can you spell that acronym for the interpreter?
Yes, it's DCAMM. DCAM.
Okay, so the location is currently in Boston, Massachusetts, correct?
Well, the office is located in Boston, Massachusetts. However, I am working remotely from New York State.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so I have several questions I want to go ahead and ask you. Wouldn't mind explaining why applying for a member at large for WDA Board of Directors?
Sure. Well, Robbie and I have been working together since 2020. He brought me on board as a co-editor of World Dev Architecture News. And since we have been working together on editorials and on most recently a conference proposal for the AIA 2023 conference in San Francisco. So I just thought that perhaps it may be fitting, since I've been working closely with him on these editorials and the proposals, to perhaps get more involved in the World Dev Architecture activities.
Okay. So Michael, that both Kevin and I and the other deaf guys that we worked together on the proposal for AIA conference for next year. So yeah, we're waiting for their decision as well. When they're gonna respond to our application, it may be 2 months or so. So yeah, then we'll be great if we get it accepted. If not, then we'll have to start working on another proposal. Let me also ask Michael, do you got any more questions for Karen?
Thank you, Robert. And thank you, Karen, for coming this evening. I really appreciate you coming and actually showing exemplary efforts and to explaining what you're wanting to look forward to do as a board member. I haven't seen you in a while, but I know that there has been a lot of changes within the board, and it's for the better. I'm seeing more motivated people that have become involved and have been participating. And as a new direction that I have seen in the past, and I had just gone to Chicago, and I was really impressed with the way that people, their attendance was there. And it's such a mix of people there, so I was very, very impressed. And because of that, I have a better vision for next year. And the board has already set all the roles and everything of what they want everybody to do and their expectations as we plan for the next year. And they asked me to become president because I have been here the longest than the others, which I was happy to do. So I was, happy to be able to take on the role as board president. And so I was able to question everybody. And the questions that I have for people is because I want to know what their motivations are and what their plans are for 2023. And as Robert had explained briefly about your proposal, as you had stated, for the San Francisco AIA conference. So I would like to know what your goals are as a board member.
Well, some of my goals would include just participating more in the World Dev Architecture's efforts to promote accessibility within the deaf community. Currently at my work, I like to include aspects of the deaf community like guidelines into our accessibility program. So we're currently trying to implement inclusive design or universal design into the accessibility program. And it's quite evident that the deaf space guidelines is a very important part of inclusive design. And I see a lot of opportunities to perhaps collaborate and try to connect the work that I'm currently doing at work with World Deaf Architecture. So overall, I suppose my goal is to just get more involved with the work that the accessibility community is doing in terms of promoting inclusivity, universal design, and things of that nature.
That sounds wonderful, because as we were talking about the accessibility to AIA and to have the knowledge of the community that is there, as Robert had mentioned, and trying to have the accessibility to the AIA, we have experience of barriers. And what you're talking about sounds very, very promising to us, that you could actually help us with accessibility to the AIA, and that you're also willing to work in that area. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very passionate about inclusive design and getting more involved with how I can contribute towards moving the work along, developing the work. And I know that World Deaf Architecture is doing fabulous work in this arena of accessibility. And although I'm a hearing individual, I have great working relations with Robbie. And I think it could work, although it may be challenging because I don't sign. But I think we could possibly make it work.
Yes.
Yeah. We definitely would find somebody who would be able to help train you and learn more sign language. Somebody who would help you to be able to practice for conferences as well. So another question, from your current experience as a accessibility specialist, have you been focused on any other as far as with accessibility for individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing? Found something that you possibly have been able to fill out or solve within the design or your design by doing your work for individuals with hearing loss?
Well, the work is only starting to develop in terms of implementing inclusive design to DCAM. This is a fairly new initiative. There is an accessibility program there, and as a strategy to meet both accessibility and, well, basically we're trying to implement inclusive design as the overall strategy to meet both accessibility requirements and universal design requirements. So it's a slow moving effort. And I have been involved in organizing workshops. And just today we had a training on inclusive design requirements for the interiors department of DCAM. And part of the presentation, I made sure to include aspects of the deaf space guidelines. And I was happy to see that they are very interested and to learn more about inclusive design. As we know that deaf space guidelines are not really integrated into the ADA standards. So it's sort of like a separate guideline. And so I like
Correct.
to, right. So I like to include that as part of the presentation, and it's great to see that DCAM is very interested. It's a vehicle to teaching others about inclusive design. And again, I'm very interested in the great work that Gallaudet University is doing to develop deaf space guidelines. And overall, it just paints a greater picture of what inclusive design means.
That's good. And one thing I forgot what I was about to say. Oh, do you have another, the other organization you currently work, do you have any other ones like EDRA or any organizations like that currently that you're involved with?
Not at the present moment.
Miss that. Michael, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and expand on what you were talking about when you were talking about the presentation about deaf accessibility and have that into regards with the universal accessibility. And that is awesome. That's truly an awesome concept that you can actually see that. And, you know, we do have the Deaf Space Committee that is currently working together to develop, because Gallaudet University is so focused on educating deaf space. And that is something that we have found to have more deaf space groups, because they, you know, there's one other architect that's actually working on creating the deaf space. And I realize, you know, we have a lot of work to do together to actually create more deaf space. And, you know, with the guidelines that are with that, they have a board as well that, you know, working like with you. And as I can see the way that you have basically the key to the world right there, where, because you're able to hear them and, you know, to be able to understand us. So that's the key factor right there. And, you know, looking for somebody that has that willingness to be our key to the public and to the public community out there, to educate them and to educate the public. So that is very impressive that you actually have a goal that way, and to have that goal when you're on the board, if that's right.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, Michael.
Yeah, one more question that I had for you, Karen, was what gives you the inspiration to be motivated in design, ADA accessibility, and deaf space?
Well, I would say in large part, it has to do with my education that I received from the University of Buffalo, where I studied under Professor Edward Steinfeld, who is a leading pioneer in the field of inclusive design. And so a lot of my work from the University of Buffalo was involved in universal design. And this is something that I would like to carry forward into my work. I'm very, again, like I said, I'm very passionate about universal design and all the great goals it has for the overall society of the world. And this is the type of work that I would like to stay within. So I guess that's where I am mostly motivated by.
Well, thank you, Karen. Michael, do you have any more questions?
I also have a question. I have one more if possible. So near the Rochester area, the Rochester Institute of Technology, I know that there is a technical campus for deaf, and it also has services as like a visitor center. And I just wanted to hear if you had any comments about that, if you've ever seen that.
No, actually, I'm not familiar with that, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's okay. That's fine.
So,
Yeah, they have studies over the Professor Edward Seinfeld, Buffalo University. And then she moved to New York. So you started your new career as the entry consultant, and through the EDRA, Environmental Design Research Agency, where the teachers, they research environmental requirements and how they can go ahead and continue to incorporate the design and access for people with disabilities. So that's why it kind of gave Karen
Yes,
the motivation
yes.
to get involved with the university design with ADA and Deaf Space. So I had actually met her and gave her education
Great.
on Deaf Space and education for paper published. So learning a little bit different education from the university to now going into the world of Deaf Space. So that I feel like it really impressed me
Right.
with her particular background. So Karen, we definitely want to thank you for your time for this interview with us. Getting back in touch with you. So definitely I'll do that before the next meeting report when we're ready to make a decision or applications.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for taking the time to meet with me and to listen to my interest in inclusive design. I would be very happy to join the board and provide any assistance with moving projects along, engaging in any discussions on promoting Deaf Space guidelines. And again, always happy to collaborate.
Yeah, thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Karen. Have a good evening, and yes.
Thank you. You too have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you, team. Thank you. Wonderful. You as well. Have a good night. Thank you.
Mm.